Basically, the fire went from 100,000 acres to 200,000 acres in one day.
It sounded like a cauldron burning in there. I mean, it was just boiling.
Most people in this community had ever seen anything like that before. I know we certainly hadn't.
The fire just jumped everything and took off.
County commissioners were calling, you need to get out, you need to get out.
It happened so fast, you don't have time to, we just had to abandon most everything.
Finally, we just kind of gave up and thought, we're not going to be able to stop this fire.
It was hard to believe that probably everything that we owned was going to be gone. What are you going to do if you don't have your home to go back to? You know, what is your plan B? What are you going to do?
We were lucky to get out with our skins.
Wildland fires can be fast, hard to fight, and deadly. Each year in Montana, an average of 50 structures are consumed by wildfire, many of them homes like yours. But wildland fires are fueled by more than a generous supply of nearby trees and shrubs. Unrealistic expectations and inaction are two factors that can greatly intensify fire damage and loss.
We had gotten word that the house had been saved. That was a huge relief.
I think our buildings were spared because they were defendable.
We didn't lose one building.
Making your home or property fire safe is easy and doesn't mean ruining the beautiful views you treasure. It's a joy to live amidst Montana's breathtaking wild vistas, but with that privilege comes the responsibility of knowing how to help protect and preserve those lands when fire strikes.
Fire Safe Montana is an organization of local groups to address mitigation of wildland fuel hazard in the wildland-urban interface.
The wildland-urban interface can be defined in a very simple manner. It's simply the place where wildland fuels and homes meet.
It's not always a matter of if a fire is going to happen in Montana, it's a fire-dependent ecosystem. That's what's going to happen. A fire will come eventually at some point, sometime. So the more action they have taken prior to a wildfire coming, the better the chances are that the house will be fine.
In the wildland-urban interface, there's only one individual, one group of people that have the first and prime responsibility for protecting that home, and that's the homeowner or the resident. The homeowner and the resident must step forward and implement the guidelines that are well known by now to make their home fire defensible and fire safe. And if they do not do that work, no one else can help them later on when there is a fire.
We're not going to be moving out of the forest. More and more people want to live near nature and live with that forest area, or even here close to the city. So it's important that we have a relationship between the property owners and the forest, and how we intermingle and we live together with that. And that means that the people in their property need to do things, the fire defense wise, to make their property withstand any fire front that may come through.
The three most important concepts for you to remember in becoming fire safe are summed up by the acronym ACE, which stands for Act, Counsel, and Educate. Above all, act. Get informed by talking with Fire Safe Montana about the ways you can prepare your home, business, and property to help prevent and protect from wildfires. Your plan of action should include: create a survivable space, remove the fuses or receptive ember beds, and develop an emergency preparedness plan.
We decided to do fuels reduction mainly based on the owner's fear of what might happen if there was a fire. When we decided to do the fuels reduction, we thought we need to do a large enough area where it would really be a buffer. Pick up everything that was dead on the ground, pile it, trim all dead and dying trees down, limb every tree as high as you could reach with a chainsaw.
Keep your firewood away from your house, clean out your gutters, make sure that your deck, if you have a deck, it's enclosed. Also make sure that there's no fuel, continuous fuel right up to the bottom or the base of your house, the foundation of your house. You want to have that cleared of flammable vegetation. After that, you just keep moving out from your house.
We need to make sure that our homeowners who live in the wildland-urban interface understand that by doing their mitigation actions, they're also helping to protect the lives of the firefighters who they are relying on to come out and protect their property.
The fire chief told me later that had we not done the fuels reduction, especially the owner's house would have just been a death trap for them.
If we're going into a home that needs to have, or if a wildfire is threatening a home, we'll look at the ingress and egress routes first to see if it's even safe to go into that area. After that, has the landowner done any fuels reduction around their house? Is the structure defendable in the first place? If it's not, we might choose not to put any resources in there if we feel like they will be in danger.
Survivable space is the modification of landscape design, fuels, and building materials that make a home ignition caused by wildfire unlikely, without firefighters having to intervene. The survivable space area is usually expressed as a distance extending outward from the structure and all attachments, such as a deck. This distance varies by the type of wildland vegetation growing near the house and steepness of the terrain. Refer to Montana's Homeowner's Guide Living with Fire, which is available on our website or can be mailed to you. Check with FireSafe Montana to see if grant or cost share resources are available to assist your efforts. Fuels reduction not only helps protect your property, it promotes forest health. Fuses or receptive ember beds next to or near structures provide opportunity for wildfire and embers to cause home ignition. Common fuses include dry grass, stacked firewood, ladder fuels, and fire-prone plants such as juniper.
We had done all the fuels reduction work, and that we couldn't change. But we hadn't shut off propane tanks. We hadn't got wood piles away from the building. We hadn't got flammable doormats away from the front door. We hadn't cleared out underneath decks. So when the firemen came here, they broke out and they just started doing that kind of stuff. They knew what to do. But it would have been a big help to them had I known about that previously.
Well, I think people need to realize when they purchase property that is in the wildland-urban interface, for example, that there is a danger there.
Develop an emergency preparedness plan that establishes evacuation routes, identified safety zones, and a meeting location. Be sure all family members and employees are familiar with it. The second most important tool is forming a local fire-safe council.
We think the strength of a statewide organization is not at the top. The strength is at the local groups. Those local groups are going to develop the primary goal for us, which is to have their residents of the wildland-urban interface living in safe proximity to wildland fuels and have addressed the risk from wildland fire.
If you live in a community or in an area where there are more landowners than just yourself, it is very important for that entire community or everybody that lives in that area to do the fuels reduction work. You don't want one landowner doing some work and the other landowner not, because your fuels treatment is not going to be effective if your neighbor does not do the work also. So if you have a council, you get everybody to do that work, the more effective that your fuels treatment will be.
Partnering with concerned citizens, you will create a unified voice for citizen-led action, mobilize people in the community, create powerful group initiative, save lives, property, provide an opportunity for community residents to voice their concerns about public safety issues, and increase the chances that homes will continue to be insurable. Local fire-safe councils can establish procedures, communications, and cooperative resources that help communities survive wildfire.
If it was my house, I would want to make sure that I took as many precautions as I could did all the work that I could do, so I'm not relying on somebody else to come and help me out and put themselves at danger. That's the beauty of a fire safe council. That's the beauty of working together, doing that work beforehand so that your fuels treatment is effective and you don't have to worry, you feel a little bit more safe.
When residents and business owners within the wildland-urban interface work as a team, they present a powerful force in mitigating fire damage. And finally, educate. Take time to access FireSafe Montana resources to learn about wildland fire. Then, share your knowledge with family, friends, and neighbors.
We're very sad when we see a home that has been destroyed, particularly in a wildland urban interface fire, that we know that it would have had a much greater chance of surviving that fire and maintaining the people's pictures, their important documents, their entire life, if they had done some things in front of that fire to be able to make it resistant to that fire front coming through. And so that's why we work very hard on the fire education, fire prevention front, is to get people to acknowledge and know that this is their responsibility. This is a problem that the fire service can't solve without their help, and they need to be a part of that and protect their own family life and their history of what they have in that home.
It is very important that the homeowner gain some knowledge, if they don't already have some knowledge, about protecting their house. There's the local fire safe councils, there's the Forest Service, there's the volunteer fire departments in the area. They need to go out and find that information if they don't know that already.
The landowners who are responsible for taking care of their problem of living in wildlands have a lot of resources they can draw on to know what to do. One of those sources is FireSafe Montana. One can go to FireSafe Montana website and look for guidelines not only on what to do around a home, but also how to form a fire safe council to help join a neighborhood together in being a part of the solution collectively.
At FireSafe Montana, we want you to have a local place to call and find out how to do this stuff. Call their local fire department, call their local land managing agency, and find out how to take mitigation actions. What is recommended in this area? That's what FireSafe Montana can do, and that's what it can bring to your local community. Truly can. I've seen it work.
Fire is a unique phenomenon with lots of integral parts. Being prepared and having a plan will be the difference between saving or losing your home or property to wildfire. Don't roll the dice with fire. Remember ACE and be a fire-safe winner. To learn more about wildland fire or to find out how you can create a local fire-safe council, visit www.firesafemt.org or contact a FireSafe Montana representative directly.